Hello guys, I am back from another video on the David deku was the embodiment of hope and despair. So, in the last video deku, we move back to the training camp as it's finally the day of um the brave challenge or the bravery challenge. So, while during that, Izuku saw the League of Villains again, including Masquerade, aka Momo Yayorozu. She used another quirk, which was given by 0 for 1. 0 for 1 gave her a special quirk known as Soul Steal. So, after like capturing Izuku's soul, specifically Okami's soul, and implanting it into a brand new body, similar to Izuku, which is kind of like a homunculus type situation, like the homunculus from Fate Grand Order, kind of. So yeah, so after being transformed into this body, she explains that she can have Izuku, while for Todoroki she can have her own man, being Okami, as she steals Izuku away. After everybody, or specifically just her and, Okami, see Izuku get captured by them, they were sad. So, when they arrived back at school, apparently there was an attack. So villains, eh, specifically the League of Villains, have arrived so they can take down, or should I say, destroy UA. As when Okami arrived at the scene, he sees Izuku, but transformed into this this horrible visage of his former self. His crystals are now red, like blood red, as his eyes are completely purple. As he basically looks like a Akechi, basically. His eyes are basically purple and his crystals are completely red. So basically like that. As he laughs maniacally, saying that this society is nothing more filled with greedy people and should be destroyed. But Okami opposes that. But he was too powerful. Thanks to the enhancements that 0 for 1 gave him, he's basically a Nomu, but, more sentient. Wait a minute, that's basically just like a high-end Nomu. Either way, he's basically pretty powerful now. Before Okami can be killed by him, he said that they're gonna be, because, and I quote, they found the device. Or specifically, Dobby found a device. So, yeah, after they left, Okami was mad. He wanted revenge. Revenge for what he did to Izuku, his brother. So, his classmates agreed that they're gonna help Izuku, or should I say Okami, getting Izuku back. So, yeah, that's going to be like the explanation for this episode. So, let's talk about what happens next. So, we've moved to a different perspective, being Izuku. Izuku being controlled, or should I say brushed, by Momo. As Momo says this, that was a great mission, right, Izuku? As Izuku just says this, right, honey. It's absolutely fun beating down my so-called brother. As she says this. Good. Now, let's get ready, because we need to go to the doctor. So, they go to the professor, being the professor that stole Izuku's quirk in the original canon, which I'm still thinking that theory is actually correct. Not gonna lie, because they look super similar. So he says this: Izuku, Miss Momo, you're finally here. The device has been modified. As Izuku says this, as he says this, I meant. Wait for a second again. Sorry about that. Izuku just says this. So, what is the device for? As Momo says this. Well, that device was actually stolen from an old tech company. Apparently it was called like X Enterprises or something. Apparently it gone bankrupt after his CEO was convicted as a, well, let's just say a bad person. So, Izuku just says this. How disgusting. So, what is that supposed to do then? As she says this. Well, apparently, this thing is supposed to make artificial quirks. As I meant Izuku just says this. Wait. Really? As she says this. Yes, we're going to make this much more powerful and able to give several artificial quirks to our minions, to the Nomus, and many other people that trust us. Now, what do you think of that, All for One? As All for One is chained, and several tubes run around his body as he says this. You're not gonna get away with this! As she says this. Oh, but I did. After defeating you, and chaining you up, and now ruling your empire, I am now this militia, this group's leader now. You're nothing more than a pawn. Nothing more than my right-hand man now. After ripping your quirk off your body, well, I decided to let you live, so you can see how I make this world better. Unlike you. As Izuku just says this. Yeah. Unlike you, All for One, my sweetheart has a better ambition. As he says this. My ambition is much more honorable. Unlike you, who just wants to control everything. As she says this. Shut up. Now, if you don't want your immortality quirk to be stolen by me, it's better if you just listen and look. As All for One looks and sees the machine activate, this device gives all of these Nomus artificial quirks. These artificial quirks give these Nomus extremely powerful quirks. Like for example, one Nomu was given a dragon quirk, which allows him to transform into basically a flightless dragon that breathes out fire and ice. The other that shoots out, poison, and others that shoot out spikes, and others that, turn invisible or something. As she says this. Now, my army is going to ravage this world and rule it. I will be its ruler, while Izuku is going to be at my side as my king. As Izuku just says this. Right, my lovely Momo. As she says this. Oh, my Izuku. So, this will be the end of this, perspective. This is going to be in the regular perspective. I meant regular perspective, being Okami. So, Okami and the rest of Class 1A and the heroes, including Class 1B, are getting ready to intercept this brand new, group, being the League of Villains, so they can stop them from basically ruling the world. So, Okami starts training a little bit more as he learned how to use a brand new ability, but he doesn't want to share it yet. Only when he's at a full standstill with Izuku. As Todoroki arrives, as she says this. Hey Okami, it's me, Todoroki. As Okami just says this. Todoroki, you're here. As she says this. Hey, Izuku. Or should I say just Okami. As Okami just says this. Just call me Okami, okay? as she says this. I don't want you to get hurt, okay? Even though we're going to go into this mission, like both of us, including the rest of our classmates, even the number like one heroes also coming, but I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to just suffer. I just don't want you as just Okami just says this. Just stop. Just stop. Don't worry. I won't I won't get hurt, okay? Just don't worry, Todoroki. I'm gonna be okay. As she says this. Do you promise? As Okami just says this. I promise. I promise, pretty bird. As she says this. Pretty bird? As. Wait for a second again. As Okami just says this. Yeah, you remind me of a bird. A really cute one, in fact. As Todoroki starts blushing, as Izuku just says this. I meant Okami. Okami just says this. Alright, let's get ready. So, several of the heroes, including the top 10 heroes, including some random heroes, Class 1A, Class 1B, and also, big three are also there, as All Might says this. Now, our mission is clear. Defeating the League of Villains and recapturing Izuku Midoriya. As everybody said this. Yes! So, as everybody starts going onto the airplanes, not really airplanes, more like helicopters, they started going to the island where the League of Villains are held. So, when they get there, it's completely blocked by like a gigantic wall, similar to the Wall of China but smaller. So, after seeing it, several Nomus start firing off their brand new artificial quirks, some with guns, fire, and projectile type quirks. They start making the ships be not really ships, more like the helicopters start falling down because of the quirks getting their ranged in, like getting some of the planes, not really planes. I meant the helicopters like rotors destroyed. So they started falling to the ground as everybody basically starts jumping off the helicopters to get to safety as they jump into the beach. The beach was calm enough, but they see that it was actually protected by another Nomu, specifically a Nomu that resembles a kraken. If you don't know what's a kraken, then you probably don't know what the hell, that thing is. It's basically like a gigantic ass squid. Just like, just imagine a gigantic ass squid or octopus or whatever. Just basically anything that has tentacles, basically, but also gigantic. Not that type of tentacle. Please don't. So, either way, Izuku or Okumi, should I say, Okumi starts telling everybody to go back to land, while Okumi starts fighting this creature. So, Okumi starts summoning out his blades, but thanks to the water, it doesn't make them, go that far. But some of them start sticking onto the Nomu's skin and start biting off, like chunks of his skin. The Nomu started crying out in pain, as several of the League of Villains members were alerted by the sound. So, after hearing that, they see the rest of the heroes arrive. As they say this, gather all the Nomus, get all of the grunts, and kill these stupid heroes. So, all of these heroes start facing off the League of Villains, while Izuku, or should I say Okumi and Todoroki and the rest of Class 1A and Class 1B, were told to go into the League of Villains base to get Izuku and Momo. So, after passing several Nomu guards, they go into the main, room. That is where they see Momo. Momo was on a throne with Izuku. Izuku is sitting right beside her. Not really sitting, more like standing right beside her. As they also see the body of All For One. All For One was just laying down on the floor, crying and saying, "Somebody help me." His body starts withering away, almost instantly turning him into an old man as he turns to dust. As Okumi just says this, "What did you do?" As Momo said this, he was an annoying old man. After all, the new generation should be the ones to take over, like me and Izuku over here. As one of them being Kendo says this, "Give back Izuku now!" As she says this, "Oh, tried to take away my honey then. Well then, hey Izuku." As Izuku just says this, "Right." As he starts creating pure, like, pure spears of light. As he says this, "Take this." As he throws it at one of the students, causing them to basically fly away. Like, instantly blow away, causing them to basically go back into the hallway. As Izuku just says this, "I was given another artificial quirk. I call it light. You probably know what it means." As Okumi says this, "Heh, you think that's strong? Look at mine now. I learned this after you beaten me to a pulp. Now, allow me to show you." So, Okumi's whole body, his whole demeanor starts changing. His eyes turn into a bluish color. Wait for a second. His hair starts growing longer. His mask starts breaking, showing off his other side of his face, which is now completely like half of his face is literally look like it's made out of stone, but it's actually just craggly skin. So his arm starts revealing what's like underneath it, which is several tattoos. These tattoos start glowing a beautiful blue color. As his clothes also change, his clothes changed into, well, like the opposite colors of like the same colors as Izuku's like costume. Basically brown and like a darker shade of brown with some blue highlights basically. That's basically what he looks like now. As he says this, "I learned this. I call it my alter form. What do you think?" As he says this, "No matter. I will kill you for what you did to me all those years ago, making me feel like I was oppressed. Now, die!" As Izuku and Okumi start clashing, for Todoroki and the rest of the students, they started fighting Momo. Momo starts getting the upper hand, getting ready to steal one of their quirks. But Kirishima starts coming in as he basically tackles her to the ground. As when Izuku sees it, he says this, "Don't you dare." As he starts creating more red crystals as he throws it right in the face of Kirishima, almost killing him. But thankfully, the shard just made a scar on top of his forehead. As he says this, "Oh, whoa, 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 that was not cool, man." As he says this, "Saying man or whatever, it just pisses me off." Wait for a second. As Okumi starts kicking him right in the curb, as he says this, "Take that!" As he says this, "Why, you dirty little?" As he starts creating swords made out of light and crystal. While for him, Okumi starts creating something. It looks like darkness, but more calming instead of dark. It's now color blue, like the same shade as his, well, original color of his, crystals. As he says this, "Now take this!" As he started fighting almost like hand to hand combat type style. So while they were fighting, well, Momo and Todoroki were standing off. As she says this, You taken away my man once, and I won't let you take him away again. As Todoroki says this, your man, you just used him. You just used your own quirk on him. You just brainwashed him. That's not true love. As she says this, shut up, shut up, shut up! As she starts trudging towards Todoroki, while they were fighting, she starts getting ready to use her final attack, being Momo, as she says this. Now take this. As she starts creating a ball made out of metal. This metal seems to be mercury, as she says this. Now, fire. As it shoots out in a furious rage, they're ready to slam into, Todoroki, as Okami starts creating a wall made out of shadow. As well, wait for a second. As Todoroki says this, thank you, Okami. As Okami gets punched in the face by, Izuku. As Izuku just says this. Now, any last words, brother? As Izuku or Okami just says this. Izuku, if you're still in there, you can fight it. Just get out of there. As when Izuku hears it, he starts clutching his head as he says this. No, I don't want to hurt Okami. Please. As his other side says this. No, kill him. He's been ruining my life for so long. We should kill him. Kill him. Kill him. As Okami just says this. Izuku, just come back. As for a few seconds, Izuku came back. As he says this. Okami, I'm sorry. As he stabs himself. As Okami says this. No! As Todoroki, after seeing this, including Momo, well, let's just say they were shocked. As Izuku says this to Okami. I don't want to hurt you anymore, brother. Here, take this. As his soul starts going into Okami. As Okami, after gaining this soul, they were back together again. But instead of Izuku being the actual main personality, instead Izuku lets that main personality be Okami this time. Now Okami is in control. As Okami's hair starts changing, as Okami says this. Well, well, well. Huh. I guess my brother decided to let me take control now. Oh well. Now, Momo Yaoyorozu, you're the reason why my brother killed himself. It's now time for you to pay for what you did. As she says this. Why you? As she starts charging towards him. As Okami starts creating crystal. As Izuku just says this. Here, Okami, use my power. As Okami just says this. Thanks. As he shoots out a shard. As this shard stabs Momo right in the chest, killing her. After doing that, many of the heroes arrive as they see the aftermath. As All Might says this. Did we won? As the doctor appears, clapping his hands, as he says this. Oh, what a show. I absolutely love the part where you, Okami, a fine specimen, actually defeated my colleague. As, well, wait for a second. As Okami just says this. What do you mean by colleague? As he says this. Well, after You know, after the so called sports festival, she came to me and she asked to gain power. So, we decided to rebel against All for One. And because of that, you know what the story ends up next, right? As Okami says this, either way, why are you here? As he says this, well, it's about time to show you my finest masterpiece. So, he starts charging towards, well, the body or the dead body of Momo as he stabs some sort of like, well, liquid. This liquid was almost a purplish color as he stabs it right into the neck of the dead Momo corpse. As she, I meant he, starts injecting it. As after a few seconds, the body starts rising again. Momo came back to life. As Okami just says this, "What the hell?" As everybody starts stepping back. As he says this, "Meet my finest creation. I call it Subject M. Or should I say, wait for a second, Project Destroyer." As the Momo corpse starts convulsing, as it starts growing wings like a bat, its face starts transforming into almost like a dragon. His arms start turning more furry, almost like the lion, like the claws of a lion. His, well, like the legs, basically, they start fusing and turning into a scorpion's tail. As after it's done, it becomes an abomination. An, an abomination of fusion, a fusion of several different creatures. As he says this, "Now my creation, kill them. That's after all your dream, right?" As the Momo creature looks at the doctor and eats him. As the Momo creature starts flying away, never to be seen again. Everybody was shocked. But they just calmed down because they think they won. But it's the beginning. Okami finally gets home as his mother was happy to see him and says, "What happened to Izuku?" As Okami just says this, "Don't worry, he's inside me again." As she looks into the mirror, as she sees Izuku, as she says this, "Izuku, what are you doing there?" As he says this, "Don't worry, mother. I'm letting Okami take over now. Don't worry, I'm okay with it. And also don't worry about your funds. Okami is able to use your, or should I say, my power now. He's able to create crystals, just like me. I hope that you're happy with us, mother." As Inko says this, "Don't worry, I love you both, no matter what you are. I've been such a selfish mother ever since I known about your quirk. I'm sorry. Please forgive me." As Okami just says this, "I guess I can forgive you, but not all the times that you've been, abusive towards me." As she says this, "Understandable. I'm sorry for what I did, calling you a monster." As Okami just says this, "Mother." So, after a while of talking, they decide to get some sleep. As they finally gone to sleep, after a long, long day. So, this will be the end of this series. So, before we end this series off, we're gonna talk about the epilogue. So, let's begin then. So, in the epilogue, the Momo type creature has been living in Mount Fuji for a while now and producing these terrifying offspring, a fusion of like quirk user and animal DNA, basically looking like, furries basically, even though most like quirk users look like furries already. I mean, there's already like people that have like animal type quirks already, so either way, they look like nations. But they mostly keep to themselves in Mount Fuji now. So, Izuku, or should I say Okami, became the number one hero. But also technically being the number two hero because they're after all two different personalities, so one of them is better than the other. The better one being Okami and the second being, well, you know, Izuku. So, Izuku slash Okami finally marries Todoroki and gains two children. One with a split personality, but one of them is a bit sweeter and the other one seems to be a bit more meaner, but still have a good heart. And the other seems to be like a similar quirk to Todoroki, but except instead of crystal, I meant ice, they shoot out crystal and darkness. And the other shoots out light and fire, and also ice. Kind of, I guess. So, because of that, day when literally Okami saved like the entire world from being or being controlled by, Momo, everybody celebrated them as the best hero ever. Right next to All Might and the number two hero, which he sacrificed himself during a, well, fire. Specifically a fire in an orphanage. So, because of that day, everybody celebrated Izuku slash Okami as the number one hero, including Bakugo. Bakugo was a bit prideful back in the day, but now he has humility, and now acts as a true hero, known as Dynamite. So, yeah, this will be the end of this series, and I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!